Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Welcome to another edition of Hot Topics Radio TV After Dark. I am your host, DTeflon on the MIC, each and every Tuesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We go into in-depth conversation on all the hot topics with special guests. Don't forget, join us each and every Sunday as well on Hot Topics CELEB TV for the most in-depth conversation with some of Hollywood's most influential actors, producers, directors, as we take you behind the scenes for some of the most in-depth conversations. Tonight, it is a guest that I have been looking forward to having on this show. She is an international IFBB pro. She goes by the name of Miss CELEB. She is a model. She is a mother. She is a very interesting lady who has a very interesting Instagram. And tonight, we're going to peel back the curtain to get to know her a little bit, also get into some in-depth conversations on various subjects. And I want to welcome the beautiful, the sexy, the oh-so-talented and funny, the legendary Miss CELEB. Welcome to Hot Topics CELEB TV.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Is it possible if you could turn your mic a little bit louder? Because I hear a lot of echo from you.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us.
Check, 1, 2. Check. Is that better?
That's a lot better, yeah.
Okay. So, Miss Sue, how have you been?
I've been great, thank you. I mean, regardless the situation, I'm trying to do my best. Just take one day at a time, you know, with this whole lockdown and all. It could be very hard on us, but yeah, just take day to day.
How have you been keeping busy during this lockdown?
Oh, I'm always busy. Yeah,
I can
being a mom.
For the people who are
Being
just
a mom.
tuning in for the very first time, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sorry?
For the people that are just tuning in for the very first time who don't know you, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so hi guys. So I am a fitness fanatic. So I went through the whole journey from losing weight to truly believe in my journey and truly want to help other people. From there, I became a fitness coach and I competed. I got my pro card. But the most pride of all is that I am a mom of a lovely daughter, and I'm also a fitness model. That's just fall in my lap. It's just part of the whole process, and I'm just embracing everything as it goes.
Okay, so I want to talk about that. So you have been on this, I mean, I've been watching your work for quite a long time, and watching you blaze through the industry, and to me, has, in a very, very short time, has cemented herself as one of the top fitness, especially in the sense, number one, of the Asian market models of the world, per se, in the industry. What's got you on this journey of fitness? And what made you get into the industry?
I think I have my daughter to thank for. Um, I'm just a normal person. I'm Asian, being always skinny, fat, so I'm a little bit overconfident about like, oh, I don't need to exercise. I'm already small and petite until I had her and I gained all the, pregnancy weight and I never lost it. One day when she was 2, she told me, Mommy, I really want you to be happy. And it's shell shock and it just hit me really hard. And that was my epiphany because I can't believe that as much as we try to fake it and try to be happy, kids or our children or our loved one can sense it, right? So from there, I set a goal for myself to be happy. So I list out everything that make me unhappy and then a goal of try how to fix all that to be happy all over again and getting my shape back and feeling healthy and feeling active is something that been on my in the back of my mind that I know that it's been wearing me down. So yeah, so that's how I started my fitness journey.
Were you always like athletic and fit, like in the sense before, like you had your child, or then it just your body just changed, or did you?
Yeah, so I've been always active, but not into bodybuildings, right? So I used to swim. I used to do a lot of yoga with my family because my family is into yoga. But yeah, so bodybuilding is just something that I started 5 years now.
So how did you find, like, for example, and I'm sure you've heard, when women who are just starting on that journey, especially, now in the era of social media where it is a big, you know, avenue, per se, number one, for models to, to use. But there's always, of course, those people that when you're starting off and you start working out as a woman, they're like, you know what, and you say, okay, I'm going to be a fitness bodybuilder, competitor. They're like, don't work out because you're going to turn into a man. You're going to look like a man. How
Yeah,
did
we hear
you
that a lot, right?
exactly? So and you, like, to me, have, one of the most perfect symmetry bodies that are out there right now, natural and in the sense, number one, like when you're training, because I've never really seen you ever off shape, out of, not working out, not training. What did you feel for yourself, when you obviously hearing those things? What made you say, what, like, I'm just going to do this despite what people may think, and and change the projective of how people think in regards to how a certain fitness model or fitness bodybuilder should look?
So there are a lot of mixed information thrown out there on social media about everything, really, not just fitness, right? But yes, more so fitness because or weight loss or fat loss because that's a very, I would say, a global issue, right? Everybody struggle with fat loss and weight loss and whatnot, or try to achieve the body that you want. And especially for women, like I have a lot of female clients coming to me with the same thing you said, like, oh, I don't want to look like a man. Well, in fact, it's actually almost impossible for you to look like a man without steroids or enhancement, right? So I think most women's main goal when it comes to fat loss, weight loss, is that they want to lose the body fat, the unwanted body fat, and still maintain a very feminine physique. I think that's what they meant. And I totally get it. And yeah, so I think the best way to start with your fat loss or weight loss is that take one step at a time. make smart food choice, do your research about the difference between all the food group, right? Because not all calories or not all food are made equal. So for example, there's this myth that's saying, oh, carbs is bad for you. Well, not all carbs is bad for you. Potato is good for you. It just depends on how you make it. Like, for example, fries versus um, roasted potatoes, right? So they're potatoes, but they're all made differently. One has a lot of fat and one is made in a healthier way. So yeah, so I mean, do your own research and really like do the deeper research into it. And if you cannot, find a reliable coach to help you through. And because yeah, if you read on the internet, there's just too much information going on, right? So sometimes it's hard to understand what's right and what's wrong. But yes, one day at a time, be patient, drink lots of water, choose leaner, greener ingredients in your food. And definitely eating at home helps.
True. So me and you have discussed this before. We've had conversations about this where, you know, for me, you know, watching from managing talent to managing certain models in the industry, and I've been in this game for a very long time and watched the progression of, you know, the industry over the years go from, you know, from the Trish Stratus and Stacy Lynn and the Muscle Mag era to now, which is considered like, you know, the social media fitness era. And with so much saturation that's on the internet, in a sense, number one, and I'm sure, for example, someone like you who has been very disciplined, not only with your training and the consistency, but with obviously with your diets and everything else, and being on a competitive level. And when you were, you know, taking that journey to the stage, what was the thing for you that were, you know, when you decided, okay, I'm going to compete? What made you make that decision first to start competing? And second, in the goals before you, you know, reach your pro card status, because as you know, many people who are in this industry of fitness and bodybuilding, you know, they all have their own different individual goals. Some are doing it for, you know, for just their own personal, you know, struggles.
Yeah.
You've got women now that I find, you know, where the fitness industry has sort of exploded over the last, you know, per se 10 years with females in social media. And it's not where you know, back in the 90s, where you had a clear-cut definition of what a fitness model was, what she was and who she was, and you had these conglomerate shoots. And now you find people that are jumping into the industry calling themselves fitness models who either A, don't work out, but have a decent physique. They jump up on stage. They enter these competitions with very little training, where someone like yourself puts in the time, the hours, the effort, the money, in the sense, number one, to get your body in peak physical condition, to compete for these pro cards, compete for these trophies. And you spend all the money on suits, and you spend all the money on diets, and you spend all the money on supplements. And then you put in, you know, with your trainers, and you put in the work, and you bring your, as you say, you ladies used to say, I'm bringing my best package to the stage. And when you bring it, then someone who doesn't work out, doesn't train, walks onto the stage and wins in that competition. What for you, in the sense, would you say advice for yourself that, you know, not to get discouraged from that, like in personal goals for yourself? What was the reasons why you decided to jump on stage, and also dealing with the politics, even though you won, but dealing with the politics, I'm sure, in certain competitions where you haven't won?
Okay, so what makes me decide to compete? I've been working out for a while, and whenever I was at the gym, people always come up to me and ask, oh, are you prepping for a show? Because they saw me working really hard, so they think that whoever look fit working hard, obviously preparing for a show. But I never even thought of it at the time. And I always tell people, I'm like, why do I have to compete to work hard? Like, why can't I just work hard at the gym just because I love working out and I love balance of life? And at the time, honestly, I was very skeptical about the whole competing world, because I've heard little things here and there about how extreme it is. And, I heard about like, oh, you have to starve yourself and sucking on ice. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound healthy at all, and I believe in me coming from a very poor relationship with food, and I finally developed a very good relationship with food. I don't want to go back to that route. I don't want to go to the whole yo-yo diets and all that, right? So for a longest time, I did not want to compete. However, I became a fitness coach and I was very involved in the fitness industry. And at the time, to be honest with you guys, my marriage at the time was failing, and I needed a source of income, right? And to me, I find if I was gonna become a fitness coach, I want to be one of the best, and I want the credibility, right? So if I'm just a trainer, then yes, I would always be at that level, right? And I want to make myself better, right? More widely recognized. And that's when I decided I want to compete, and I want to make sure that I can be independent again, and I can, get myself out of that situation. And to be honest, you can tell my voice is shaking because yeah, it was bad. And I think it helped me to become very determined that like I have to win. There is no plan B for me. I have to win to get myself out of there. And and so let's talk about other.
Let me ask you a question. Did you feel, when you were, because I mean, and I've seen this many, many times, and as I said, like the industry has changed so much with women getting into the business, and you find, which in my experience, and people that I know, I find that a lot of women who have jumped into this industry have all had the same similar story where they came from a bad relationship and they start, I guess you would say, this is where the social media aspect comes into it, where some women are competing, as I said, for a real personal goal to either help somebody in whatever. But the majority of what you see now is where when they don't have that validation at home, in their relationships, in their marriage, or whatever, and they go on social media and they get a like here, and they get a like there, and they get another like, and they get another like, and they get another like, and they start thinking, okay, you know what? I'm getting all of this gratification from these men and strangers and people, number one, that don't know, because as you know, like, people can put on their happy face in front, in a sense, on social media, and look, they have the most perfect relationship, and then behind closed doors, it's chaos. And over the last several years, you see women, of course, as I said, using the fitness industry as an escape, to forget about the drama that they're dealing with at home, and they start getting, as I said, the validation from the people online. But there's not really a goal set behind it, where it's like, for example, they're getting these likes and they're getting these followers, and as you said, you were using it as a tool to financially put yourself in a position to make your life better, which meant you could have done the easy route, which I'm sure you've dealt with this as a competitor, where you get someone that has no training. They have never done a fitness show in their life. They do that one fitness show, and then the next week, their whole social media changes. Okay, now I'm a dietitian, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a fitness trainer, and they have no credentials, no qualification, but then sticking into their bio on social media, I'm a fitness trainer, I'm a fitness model, I'm a fitness, person, when they haven't really put the time or the, I guess you would say, education where you have done, what do you feel in the sense, I mean, does that frustrate you as a competitor? Does it frustrate you as someone that's put in the work and put the time in? Or do you look at that saying, okay, you know what, like, let me use my platform to educate what the real shit is and what the real quality of training is, because you show the proof every single day in how you look, in the clients that you train. But then you've got other people, number one, that are in the industry who are, to me, piggybacking over the hard work of people like you. So how do you feel about that?
So to be honest, at the beginning, I was very frustrated because, I felt like, oh, I worked so hard and I didn't get the audience, and I didn't get as much client as these so-called influencer online who perform an exercise with very bad form.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's a saying like slay in your own lane, right? So I feel like instead of wasting my time and energy feeling angry or fused about these people, right? About this whole saturated industry, I rather focus in myself, learn to be better, continue to keep learning, getting more knowledge for myself so that I could help my clients, real clients that actually paying me with their hard earned money. And I want to focus in that more than all the likes and whatnot, because at the end of the day, a like doesn't mean that it will pay my bills. It doesn't directly transfer into that. So what I truly believe is that as long as I'm honest and I offer something truly valuable, and if someone see that and that I can help that one person, that is enough for me. I'm not worried about anyone else doing what and making millions and whatnot. As long as I could sleep at the end of the day, knowing I do my best, I help people, I feel happy, I feel motivated, and that my daughter and my family can be proud, that's important to me, and that's enough.
Which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to sign you. You are one of those individuals that, for me, as I said, that in an industry that is so saturated, and you stood out to me for those qualities because of not only what you put on social media, but there's a realness about you. There's a realness in the fact of where, I always say, stay in your authentic truth of who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people, for example, as that are on social media for the wrong reasons, and they're getting the likes and the followers to their head. And I've had meetings with certain models, and they're like, I've got 1 million followers on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but do you have $1 million in the bank? Like, if you can't revenue those one follower person per follower into even $1, or then really at the end of the day, what relevance do you have? The second thing is that where, for me, what made you stand out to me, and it's something that I have stressed over the years for models, fitness models, actors, anybody that's stepping in the entertainment industry or the fitness industry, is that you have a choice. You can either be a model or you can be a brand. And to me, when you're a model, I'm sure you've seen them at the Toronto Pro shows and et cetera, which I call booth bitches, where they're at a booth, they don't really know anything, they don't know anything about the product, they don't know anything about what they're selling, but they're standing there taking their $100 for 6 hours, whatever, they stand there. And then you've got individuals like yourself, for example, who are brands, where you've got these girls who have a million followers on social media, fitness models, and and I'm sure you've seen the ads, or I'm sure you've seen the promotions where they're like, "Hi guys, buy my flat tummy tea and use my 10% discount code." And I'm like, okay, you're using a 10% discount code to offer to your following. Meanwhile, 98% of your following is men who are thirsty, leaving the comments, leaving, yo, baby, I want to fuck you. Yo, baby, I want to sleep with you. Yo, baby, you're so fucking hot. And meanwhile, when you're promoting your 10% discount code, these guys that are on your social media, they don't give a rat's ass about your 10% discount code because they're not women. They're not the demographic of people that you're trying to sell to. And most importantly, they don't care because all they care about is, let me see your titties, let me see your ass, let me see your dick. But then there's you. When I started to, notice you over the last 5, 6 years, and I kept hearing this name, and people kept on saying, "Yo, D, you gotta sign this Sue Liga. Like she's killing it. She's out in Canada, but she's killing it." And I'm like, yeah, but I've seen the Toronto girls. I'm not really interested because there's always been the same type of product that they're putting out. Then I came across your page, and I was like, wait a minute. This girl, not only, for an Asian model standing out, but the balance and the ratio of her demographic, it was all over the map. It wasn't just men. It wasn't just women. It wasn't just old. It wasn't just young. And it was every spectrum, which is what I say is the true definition of what you don't see anymore. The old school way of fitness modeling, where you had the Trish Stratus's, you had the Stacey Lynns, you had the Julianne Gerhardts, you had the Cyril Banks, the ones that when you picked up a Muscle Mag magazine and you saw that girl for the very first time, you could follow her on her journey. Like it wasn't just a saturated aspect where everybody and their mother was, okay, well, is this girl a fitness model? That girl, it's like you knew if you wanted to follow your certain girl who was known for her ass or known for her boobs or known for her abs or whatever, like you had that following. With you is where, what I saw the difference is between you and other individual athletes that were out there is that you were putting out such a very positive message. And it wasn't about, you showing people just the pretty side of you. Like I follow people who probably follow you, know your stories, and they watch your stories, and you have a personality, and you're entertaining, and you're funny. But like you will, and it's always, I always say to you, I'm like, this girl is like a modern day female superwoman, because remember when Superman would get into the phone booth, and he put on his, he go from Clark Kent to Superman. Every time I see you in those video stories where you come out of your elevator, it's like you've turned into this superwoman because you go from like sweatpants, no makeup, hair in a mess, hair all over the place, and then within 2 seconds,
mom's life,
fresh to death, walking, skipping, jumping, and to me, it's like when you're able to show, people that side of who you are and being real. To me, that is the truest form of what a fitness model is, because it's not about what's on the outside. It's about what's on the inside. And if your inside is not proper, the outside is not proper, because and this is like, I think for you, like as you said, like when you're in your relationship and it was going bad, you needed another outlet to channel. Did you do it more for the money in the sense of to help yourself financially? Or was it more for you saying, okay, you know what? I was meant to be on this earth to help people. What was your main goal?
Well, like I said, when I became a fitness coach, my main goal is to help others people, right? And I find that if I compete, it doesn't just get me out of my situation, but it's also helped me reach out to a bigger audience, right? So I can reach out to more people, so I can help people, or at least guide them to the right direction. Because there's so many every day. There are people DM me asking me about nutritional questions without like any promise that like, hey, I'm gonna pay you or anything. I don't care, because I was that person. I was that person who were very confused about what's going on and all the information, and I had no one to ask, because I went on YouTube and I watched all these famous influencer, and I reached out to them and no one ever responds to me, right? And or I would get like an automatic response, and I know that was not her or that was not him. And I want to change that. I want to truly touch people. I want to truly show that, you know what, you can do anything. You can be a mom and still be beautiful, and you can find yourself again, if not better, right? And you know, all these pictures that I have on my Instagram, it's not to show like, hey, look at me, I'm so sexy. It's more to empower women and to empower even men who ever doubt themselves, that like, oh, I would never do that, oh, I've never become that. Yes, you can. I never could even imagine I become a fitness model, right? You know, like when I first started my fitness journey, all I thought was that like, oh, I just want to lose my fat. Simple as that. But it just by setting goals, and then once you achieve that goal, you set a little higher goal. By keeping setting goals, you'll be surprised where you end up. That's all I can say, right? I never imagined where I am right now. And the sky's the limit. I'm nowhere near you know, like the highest or whatever. I'm not almighty, but you know what I mean. Like it's a lot further from where I started.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, what I've the thing that and I've said this to you before. We've had private conversations where, you know, there's been a very, very long time that, you know, especially as an Asian model in the industry, which, you know, any person of different race other than white in the industry doesn't necessarily move up the ranks of notoriety that quickly. Yeah. And the last time, to me, it was done on a massive scale, like a really, 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 really big scale. Those who are on watching this live right now can remember the days of Kiana Tom, Kiana Flex Appeal at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And, you know, and for those who are old enough like me to remember, you know, there's many people, of course, you being an IFBB pro, you know the name Monica Brandt. And Monica Brandt was actually Kiana's backup workout girl in the videos. And, you know, to me, I've looked at you over the last several years of, you know, just watching you, you know, build your platform and inspire people. Like, to me, I'm gonna crown you publicly today and say that you are the Canadian Kiana Flex Appeal of this era. Like, you have set the bar to me as an Asian model, and to me is like, you know, being an Asian model, did you find, you know, did you ever deal with any racism per se aspects in the industry? Like, you know, where if you were competing in a show or ever felt in any way, in the sense, number one, judged differently or looked at differently in the sense as an Asian model in the industry?
When it comes to competing, no, because I compete in the Canadian Physique Alliance, and that's the mainstream of bodybuilding, and all judges are fair, right? So they judge you on your package, on the proportion of your body. For example, like I'm knee high where my body should be. So that's where they judge it. So they don't judge it on the skin or the race or the ethnicity, thank goodness. Yeah, everything has been very fair when it comes to the bodybuilding competition world, I have to say. However, I understand why being Asian is still a minority in the fitness industry because of our genetics making. We're very small people, and it's hard for us to build muscle. And yeah, if I keep making that excuse, I would never be where I am, right? So like, I remember when I was prepping for my competition, my coach keeps saying like, oh, you need more delts, you need more muscle on your shoulders. And I worked so hard, and sometimes I cry. I'm like, I don't understand, like, why is it not coming? You know, or maybe I'm just Asian. You know, I did excuse myself. However, I didn't give up, and I just keep telling myself maybe because of my genetic, I just have to work a little bit harder. Like it just take more work, right? But then my advantage would be like I'm easy to get smaller, right? So I believe that the above made us to be very fair, right? So he takes something away from us, he gives us something else. So we just have to understand our flaw and work harder on it. But I don't think the competition judges are unfair at all. However, yeah, I understand in the fitness industry, like as in models, you don't see a lot of Asian models for that reason, right? Because we don't fit in the majority profile.
So for exactly that, what would you feel that needs to be done? I mean, you being a trailblazer right now, like I said, winning an IFBB pro card in such a quick period of time, what do you feel in what you see, in your experience, and just overall needs to be done to change that stereotype, to open the door for more Asian models and Asian people, in a sense, to break through that industry and start getting the recognition that they deserve?
I believe that consistency works for everything, right? You just have to keep showing up, keep looking the best that you could, and by being more exposed, other Asian fitness fanatics will see me and say, "Oh, hey, she started looking like that, 65 pounds heavier, and she could win a pro card, and she could maintain this year round. Oh, so can I. She's Asian. I'm Asian too." So that is what I want to I hope that it will inspire other people to realize that genetics is just one thing, right? But hard work will beat genetics any day.
But
I believe that.
do you feel that, like, in a society now of social media, that in that industry and just overall, that is it more about likes and followers for judges? Is it more about favoritism in the sense of where, this person hasn't? I mean, for example, I'm not going to put out any names right now, but I know in certain competitions with certain companies where they have used and abused, to me, competitors, and not in the right way, in the sense of where you've got these competitors, again, that I've always said, competing for these pro cards. To me, this is my own personal opinion, that legitimately in this day and age mean nothing. You've got competitors competing for trophies, to me, in this day and age, that legitimately mean nothing, where they're spending money on all these diets, these suits, these supplements, these trainings, the travel, the hotels, the registration fees. And I've always said, where you've got these people running these companies who are pimping out their competitors, where they're bringing in certain athletes, and some athletes are just content saying, "I was on stage with such and such. I competed on stage with such and such." And I'm like, okay, you spent all of that money in a sense to get ready for these shows, for these pro cards, for these trophies that you probably are never going to win, just to go and make a social media post 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 2 weeks out. And then when the show is over, well, I didn't win, but I brought my best package to the stage. I met some really great people. And I'm saying, okay, all that money that you spent on all of that, imagine what you could do if you put that money into your own branding, into yourself, into elevating your own brand. So for you, it's like you have already won your pro card. After that, what was your next goal?
Okay, so first of all, if you ever plan to compete, just make sure you do your research about what association or what roof you want to be under, right? So I did my research and I realized that, okay, if I want to keep competing and advance myself, I want to be under the Canadian Physique Alliance, that who is connecting with also the NPC, which is in the States.
Okay.
So if I ever want to compete in the States or be qualified to compete in the States, I can, right? And further on, let's say Olympia or Arnold's, it's all under one association of the IFBB Pro. And that's why there are so many other associations that I cannot speak for them, because I've never competed in under any other association. But yes, I understand and I'm aware that there are many out there that yes, you lose a lot of money and you don't really get the result for your hard work, and rather than politics and favoritism and whatnot. But I can't speak for those because I'm really not aware of it. I never competed under any other roofs. I'm happy with the mainstream, and I know that they're fair. Second of all, about deciding when to compete or compete at all, I believe that everybody has their different purpose when they enter a competition. Maybe for engagement on social media, maybe it is a almost like a self-affirmation, right? To see what they can do, like what is their best that they can push themselves, and it's totally okay with that too. Or someone like me who want to help more people, who want to like make my voice louder, right? So everybody has different goals, and I think depends on that goal, people decide to put their the effort, right? If I'm just doing it for the likes, it would be different, right? If it's something really, really important to me, I would put a different kind of effort in it. And that's why I believe that your results speak to your effort. If let's say if the judging is fair, then the package that you bring to stage is the best that you could. And I think that is enough, whether you win or not, because you don't know who show up, right? I don't know who's showing up next to me. It could be a girl who's been working out a lot longer than me, who has more muscle maturity than me, which means she's better conditioned than me. It doesn't mean that she work harder or I work less harder. It just means that she's just more matured in the industry, right? And it's totally fair if I don't win, right? But I wouldn't be upset because I know I put my best. Of course, I would love to win every time, but it's very hard, especially now that I'm competing with other pros, right? So yeah, that will be a challenge, and I just know that I just have to do my best.
So being obviously a sex symbol, you deal with, you know, social media and being put out there in the sense, and I'm sure, for example, because I've heard this many times, of women, you know, who are beautiful like yourself, who take care of themselves, take care of their body, and they're you know, they reach a certain age or they become a mother, and you get those individuals on social media who say, Sue, you're a mother. You shouldn't post images like that. You shouldn't post, you know, scantily clad photos like that. What do you say to those people who come at you with those comments? And what do you feel that, you know, a woman should have a limit to her sexy?
Yeah, I actually got only a few, but I did get those message, and these women actually came up to me in a very sincere way, right? They're like, hey, you know, like, you have a daughter, and do you think that this will affect you as a mother? What would she think if she see this? And I'm like, honestly, my daughter saw my photos, and she knows I was in fitness, and that's what she focused on, and that's truly what I focus on anyways, because what I portray myself on Instagram and what I believe in real life is the same. It's all around fitness. Whether I wear lingerie or whether I wear fully clothed, I always make sure I pose in a way to showcase my physique, right? It's not about like, oh, let me put my ass up, like right up to the lens. It's never about that.
Yeah.
It's about showcase my hard work. It's about empowering other women to say, oh wow, she's a mom and she can feel sexy, and it's nothing wrong with you as a woman to feel sexy. Like, I'm only in my mid 30s. I'm not, 85. Like, I'm allowed to feel feminine and sexual, and be confident and be happy about what I work so hard for. And you know what? Like, I realized, like, for the longest time I was very insecure, and I realized that if you don't love yourself and if you don't think you're the shit,
Mhm.
people will not appreciate you, right? Because if I can't appreciate myself, who can appreciate me?
100%.
Yeah. So I that's how I communicate with these ladies, and and I totally appreciate everybody's opinion, but that's how I decide to live my life. Because yeah, I grew up from a very, very strict family where my dad's like, tell my mom, oh, make sure she wear very loose clothes because she's too curvy. I don't want to see her boobs. I want other boys to see her boobs. That's how I grew up, right? So I'm a little bit like a black sheep at this point. I want to just say, hey, I'm me and I'm a woman and I feel beautiful, and that makes me happy. So do what makes you happy.
Well, I mean, the thing I want to ask you is because I mean, I know obviously it's just like I used to manage a top international fitness model, but then Hamlet Dhaliwal, who was East Indian descent. And when we first broke out to the scene before she became international, in India, it was not known to be showing the skin. And the Asian community as well,
Yeah.
there's certain things that are considered like a no-no. And, you've broken all those rules. I mean, you're a rebel without a cause. So, like, for you, like, was your family supportive of, like, what you were doing and the images that you're putting out there? And, do you ever have controversy with them to say, you know what, like, you shouldn't be putting out this image online? Or do you just say, fuck it, I'm going to do my own thing no matter what anybody says?
So yeah, no, my family was not support at the beginning. They was not supportive at the beginning because they were so far away. They used to be in Vietnam. They just migrated to Canada in 2019, I believe September. And yeah, prior to that, they were not supportive at all. And for the longest time, I basically blocked them on Instagram because I'm like, hey, if you can't deal with it, don't look at it, But this is how it is for me. This is you don't understand. I'm trying to send out a very powerful message to women, right? And in time, I try to explain. However, I think it's the most effective once they come here and they went out with me anywhere in my community, and people recognize me or people knows me at the gym, and they all greet me with so much love and welcoming and positivity, right? Then my family realized, okay, obviously she's doing something good, not just for herself but for people, for her to be greeted or to be loved or to be treated with respect like that. And I think my family finally understand that. My mom is still kind of like iffy about my bikini or lingerie picture. She's like, do you have to show that? I'm like, yes, mom, this this is me, and she loves me and she understands that I'm harmless and that like I mean well, but I think it will still take her some time to understand what I want, and I'm very blessed that my family loves me. So even though they're not in love with certain pictures, but they love me and they know that at the end of the day I'm a good person. So yeah.
Welcome, guys. For those who are just joining in, welcome to another edition of Hot Topics Celeb TV. We are in tonight on Hot Topics After Dark with special guests, international fitness model IFBB Pro CELEB. If you have a question, guys, please leave it. We will answer it towards the end of this podcast show. My next question for you is, and sort of a bounce back off of that, is where, you know, being, as I said, a sex symbol and having to, you know, put the material that you put out and the content that you put out. And me, I know this because I used to be, unfortunately, married to a fitness model. Not where it was a bad thing, but it was also a good thing, but it was also a bad thing because it's like where I've always said, you know, people, they want to date a fitness model until they get a fitness model. And you can have a good fitness model like yourself, who's confident, who's not, you know, who's secure with it herself, where that's the best of a partner to have. But then you have the other ones who are insecure. Doesn't matter how good they look, doesn't matter how beautiful they are, doesn't matter how many likes and followers that they get, they still don't see what everybody else sees on the outside. So for you, like, how was it for you being, as I said, a sex symbol, and then trying to, you know, balance being in a relationship when you have so many men who are gravitating towards your page every single day, gravitating towards your affection, leaving comments and etc. I know, I mean, the thing I love about you, because you're so fucking 100 and you keep it real. And I remember there was a story that you posted a while back where somebody left, I guess, some sort of comment on your thing, and you just were not having it, and you let them know, you know, if they come with disrespect, they're gonna get the wrath of Suli all over their asses and shit. So
the backhand.
Like, how do you feel? I mean, for example, balancing, like, have you found maintaining a relationship hard, easy, or what?
It is very hard if you have the wrong partner, right? If you the challenge is that, like you said, there are a lot of men and there are a lot of DM requests and dirty messages daily, right? And or even compliments, nice compliments from gentlemen online. And if my partner couldn't handle that part, then it would be a challenge, right? And I was in a relationship that my ex-partner find it's really hard to read these comments and to to accept it. But and here, this is how I break it to my partner, to my ex-partner, is that whether I'm on social media or not, right? If I'm at the mall, there would be men coming up to me and say, "Hey, you're very beautiful. I think you're very beautiful. Can I have your number?" I got it even when I was 65 pounds heavier, pushing a stroller. So, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm hot. It's just that beauty is, I guess, in the eyes of the beholder, right? So maybe certain men find a woman with curves beautiful. Some men find women with muscles beautiful, and nothing wrong with that. Like, there are different kind of beauties everywhere. And you know, the funny thing is, when I grew up, I never was told that I am good looking. I was always told that I'm very ugly and I need to work on my personality. Wow. So that hopefully a man will marry me. And so I grew up actually feeling very insecure.
Okay,
my whole
so for all the boys and all the people, number one, that doubted, that hated, that said anything negative about this woman, I want you right now, Sue, to put your finger up like this. Literally
they don't even exist in my life anymore.
Put your finger up with me. Put your finger up with me.
No. You know what? Whoever watching right now, they all love us. That's the problem,
no, but
right?
The thing is, this is not.
They wouldn't even be in my life anymore.
This is not for the people that love us. This is the people, number one, who called you ugly, who called you, you know, never gonna be with anybody. I want you to tell people, you know what, kiss your ass, because you have proven, in sense, number one, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but the bottom line is that you have to know yourself
Yeah.
that you're beautiful. You've got to feel that. That's not about what somebody else thinks. It's
That's
not about
right.
what anybody else's opinions are. And we live now, obviously, in a society where everyone has
Yeah.
so much opinions,
Mm-hmm.
on social media because we've given them this free platform to use. Some use it for negative, majority use it for negative, very few use it for positive. And the ones
Yeah.
that use it for positive, to me, is that it's people like you that I feel, are the bright light of society, like especially in the times that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
We all need, someone to bring that energy and that joy, every single day to people's lives. So like right now, obviously, as I said, like we're living in a very weird state of the world with coronavirus and lockdowns and everything else, and an issue that myself being part Asian, that I'm sure that you have seen over the last year or so, the rapid rate, and even recently, more frequently, the attacks on the Asian community and violence and hate crimes. What is your, have you ever experienced, because you said you dealt with that in a sense, number one, people when you were growing up, but like as you started to mature, and even now being a beautiful woman, and then in the climate of where people are blaming the Asian community for the entire pandemic itself, have you ever felt or experienced, whether it be now as a kid in this climate, discrimination due to this, you being of Asian descent?
Absolutely, yes. I want to move back to the partner for a quick bit.
Okay.
And all I want to say is that for if you are exposed yourself on Instagram and to how to balance relationship, is that you should show your partner that this is my work and this is who I am to you, right? Like, so my work is being professional, right? And don't get that mixed up. So I don't flirt with men. I always respond very professional, right? So the word professionalism should go in, carry into be all the negativity going on right now as well. Yes, at the beginning of this whole pandemic, it's called the coronavirus, believed to carry from China, and I'm Asian, so most people think I'm Chinese. And so at the beginning, it was hell for me. Like before anyone even wore mask, I already wore the mask. And it's not, I don't, not that I think that it will do anything, but it's basically just to tell people that like, okay, like I understand my place, and I will keep away. I will stay in my lane, and I remain calm, and I remain respect for however you feel comfortable, right? And being in Canada, it's all about tolerate, right? It's to be political correct is to tolerate, and it, as sad as it sounds, that's how it is, right? And the craziest thing is that the people that I knew on a daily basis, like my neighbor, would jump off the road when they see me walking because they probably think I'm the carrier, and I was wearing a mask already. So they would rather jump off the road and my wrist being hit by a car than being on the same pavement with me. But all I want to show is my professionalism, right? Whether in life, in business, or in anything, I always remain the same, me. Right? So people, whether people being kind or people not being kind, or people try to troll or people give compliment, I always maintain me. I'm always kind. If people say something positive to me, I would thank them. If people say something negative to me, I would say, hey, I respect your opinion, but this is my opinion, and that's it. Like if there's no back and forth for me. I don't believe in altercation, because there's no need. If someone doesn't like me, then they can move on. It's not like I have to go around and say, please like me, please like me. So, eventually, if I say something wrong, I would apologize, right? But I always maintain the professionalism in anything I do.
There's a question here I'm going to ask you. It says, do you think, actually, I'm going to change the question a little bit. So you see in an era now where, especially in the industry of modeling and fitness, where, the glorification more of sex rather than, in the sense, number one, the athlete, the training, you've got people, for example, now, like, that are more focused on big asses and big boobs and injections and lips and everything else, and not really having necessarily real bodies compared to the athletes that train and put in the time and put in the work. Do you feel that now in the industry itself that, and I'm not just talking about with just judges, but I'm talking about overall, that people are more focused on the athlete and more focused now on the big asses and boobs and everything else, and how has that affected you as a model?
So believe it or not, I lived in Miami for a while,
Okay.
and there was big asses and boobs everywhere I go. And being the rare amount of Asian in Miami, I feel very small. I'm like, oh my God, my ass is so flat. And at that time, I was actually researching Brazilian butt lift and all that, and I now thinking back, I'm like, I couldn't believe myself even thinking that, right? So I truly believe that, yes, if we are so overly exposed to social media, and especially the younger generation, like the younger women, if they're so overly exposed to social media and false expectation, then yes, that's what it leads to. Like all these dream about having the fake butts and this, and hopefully that will fill in some sort of gap. And it's just sad that, but even myself think that, right? And I truly believe that if there are more people that truly advocate about self-love and self-confidence and constantly truly working on yourself, hopefully there will be less of these images about the Kim K expectation. I think because it started from there. We watch the show and then we're just so like sucked into that world that we think that we have to have a big ass and we have to have the big boobs and our waist have to be like this and then our ass have to be like that. It's just not, it's not real. It's not realistic. Everybody is made differently. We're all different. We all have different genetics and we all come from different nationality and ethnics. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? You're just you. I'm me. And there's no one like me. And I think we need to spread the words more about individuality, right? So being unique is so much cooler than trying to look like a cookie in the cookie industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to be another Chip Ahoy.
So I mean, like with so much pressure now, obviously,
Yeah.
for young girls, and just for example, like trying to, I guess you would say the word, I wouldn't even say stay relevant, but like exactly what you said, this realistic, or I would say unrealistic, perception that's put out there of what is considered beautiful in society now. How do you balance, especially now, like when everyone who is on social media nowadays is like this, in this world of comparison of like likes and followers and asses and lips and booty and everything else? how do you maintain for yourself not falling into that pressure to try to compete with, you know, say for example, another Asian girl or another, you know, model per se that has the same sort of characteristics body-wise like you. The only difference is where you spent hours in the gym, where she went to Miami and spent 10 grand to look like you. How do you feel in the sense that, you know, do you struggle with that, or do you just not care? Do you just do your own thing?
Yeah, like, you know, I think if my if I don't have the confidence, I would feel like, oh wow, this female has a winning advantage against me. However, I think we just have to remind ourselves that what is our goal, and what is the priority here, right? So I decided to be in fitness, right? I never cared to be just a model, or I never cared to have as many likes as I want, right? It's not about the likes. So a fitness booty, a fit booty, like a booty that you build is pure muscle, could never look the same with the booty from the surgery table, right? So yeah, they could be bigger, they could be fuller and whatnot, but it's never the same. And I take pride in that, and I know that I work hard for it, and I know I could work harder, and I know it will be better because I did a comparison picture, like a before after picture of myself 5 years ago, and it's crazy how when you put the two and two together, it's like, wow, I did grow and I did progress, and I think that's important, and I want to send that message out there that like, your body is your choice. If you want to enhance your body with surgery, go ahead, right? But I always would want to go the route, like to try as hard as I could first, right? Because when I was heavy, when I was heavier, I did think about liposuction, right? I did all the research about it, and then I'm like, okay, so they suck the fat out, then you have to recover for like 4 to 6 months without exercising. This was like the procedure at the time, and you have to eat very carefully. But then I know a lot of people could not just eat very little, right? And they couldn't work out for 6 months. So then by the time 6 months finish, like they're ready to go, they gain all the fat already. So I'm like, that's such a waste of money. And how many times do I have to keep doing that if I keep gaining the fat back? So I just tell myself, like, okay, Sue, let's just try the hardest that you could ever try to see if this fitness thing even works. Because at the time I was like, you know, we're all looking for a quick fix. You know, when we're hungry, we want food right away. This is this is a nowadays thing, right? With all of us, not just you or me or anyone. Like we'll always want something quick so that we can go on with something else. And certain thing doesn't work that way, right? And good thing doesn't come fast.
True.
And if you want to last forever, or you want to last for a while, you just have to work hard for it.
So with this lockdown, I know. I mean, obviously, I know all of my gym rat friends are losing their mind because they can't train because of the gym being closed. I mean, how have you maintained your sanity throughout this? Because I always see you doing shit, you know, working out no matter what. So
Yes.
like, has this pandemic lockdown affected you in the sense of your training, or was it just you figure out other ways to navigate this business as usual?
The first lockdown, I honestly didn't have any gym equipment. I only have some resistance band and one set of dumbbells, and yeah. So I'm just like trying to be creative. Like at the end of the day, the most important thing about maintaining, you know, like the physique or just to maintain and not gaining fat and whatnot is about eating, right? So I tell myself, okay, it's even more important now since I can't go out and move as much, that I have to be very careful with what I eat. right? So I make sure that I get the right nutrition. I make sure I eat healthy. I get a lot of water in me, and yeah, just constantly moving. Like I walk up and down my stairs in my building. So I live in a condo. So yeah, although I'm not allowed to go to gym, but I just go up and
That
down the
elevator gets a
stairs.
workout, man. Your story is that elevator gets a workout.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's what it took. I'm just waiting one day for you to come up with a Superman cape when you come out of that elevator, man. Because my favorite outfit of yours is the white one. I don't know if you remember the.
Yeah.
You were like, I think I'm gonna wear white. No, and then all of a sudden, like 2 minutes later, I'm like, what happened to the fucking white outfit? Like you
Thank
were in
you.
that 5 minutes ago, and now you've changed. But like for you, with what I said with this lockdown, I mean, and such staying consistent. Um, have you have you felt? I mean, for example, I know people are working out with masks on and stuff like that. Have you felt that has made it harder for your workouts, or has not affected you at all? I don't know how people work out with a fucking mask on. I'm just confused with that shit. It just doesn't make no sense to me.
Yeah, so in my area when the gym was still open, we have to wear the mask when we enter the building or when we walk from machine to machine. But when we exercise, we can take the mask off, which I think makes
Hold on one
sense.
second. Sorry, my girl wants to say hi to you.
Oh,
Hi. Hi. Ow.
hi.
Say hi to Sue Lee. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I didn't have to wear a mask while I was exercising. Otherwise, I would actually prefer to work out at home because I think it doesn't make any sense when you breathing your own, you know, like air that you breathe out that you're not supposed to.
So
Carbon dioxide, that's the word. It's
What?
too late at night.
What did you say? What did you say?
I said you're not supposed to breathe in your own carbon dioxide because you know how like we breathe in oxygen, we breathe that. Yeah, it's
So being for you, like I mean, all these years of even when you started competing and training and stuff like that, how do you, for those that are that are out there as well who are single moms and stuff like that, like how did you balance? Because I know you're a busy woman. Balance being a mom, training, competing, like all that. Like how did you find that balance hard for you? Did you find it easy for you? Like what was your story and how you balanced that?
Boy, there will never be balance. There's always something out of balance and chaos. If you see my place right now, you'd be like, whoa, this woman is far from balanced. Like I'm sitting in like a sea of textbooks because my daughter just finished her homework. But you know what? I think yes, it's really hard to juggle, especially when you have many hats. But at the end of the day, I think setting schedule, like really have a plan for your day ahead of time is really important, and really stick to, okay, this is the time I'm doing this is the time I'm on social media, this is the time I have to go pick up Sia, this is the time I'm with my client. So whatever time that is, I commit to that. Like if it's the time that I'm editing all my videos for Instagram, that is exactly what I do. Or my client was always come first, so if their question pop up on my phone, I would answer them, right? Unless I'm like with Sia, feeding Sia, then yes, I will feed Sia first. But yeah, I think having a clear schedule of what you do and having a plan to the almost like to the minute is very important, especially if you're busy. For me, I also have to fit in my eating plan, and I have to fit in my drinking water plan. Otherwise, when you're so busy, yeah, like you don't drink enough water, right? So yeah, it's just or if you're that busy, like myself, sometimes I don't sleep, which is bad. I try my best not to do that, but yeah, sometimes it's just never enough hours of the day that I have to use the hours of the night to work as well. But it is what it is. When you have a goal and you're burning inside to get it, it doesn't matter. Like like I feel tired or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I as long as I get to where I am, then that makes me happy, and it's totally worth it.
What drives you? I mean, like where do you find? Because I mean, I know obviously nowadays with it was one thing to be a parent before the pandemic, where it was just like, okay, I'm a parent between these hours, then the kids are off to school, and I'm gonna see them, but I can do my thing. But now with homeschooling, and I mean, I know how busy you are. I know that you are so intense with everything that you do. How do you find the ways to keep going, even on those hard days where, because nowadays you've got to be a mom, a cook, a therapist, I mean, all those things, and then balancing your own life, which is hard enough in this climate, and then dealing with, of course, in your industry where you are training people and stuff like that. How have you been able to stay? Because obviously, I mean, this has clearly affected most people who are in your industry's business.
Yeah.
How have you been able to stay sane through this and stay determined and hungry and focused while dealing with all the other stuff trying to balance?
I think taking one day at a time. Also, with me being at home, being teacher to my daughter, yes, my schedule is totally depending on her. Right, so I have to have a conversation with her, and I'll be like, okay, Sia, this is what we do. You can wake up late. You can wake up like 2 minutes before Zoom school starts, and it's okay. But we need to go out at this time so that mommy can get this done, and blah blah blah. And I'm very blessed that like Sia and I have my daughter have a very good relationship. We're almost like best friends.
I tell people, you have, honestly, it is so refreshing.
Thank you.
To say honestly that the relationship that I see with you and your daughter, it honestly warms my heart every time I see it, just because you just don't see that bond anymore. And I always believe, us men we're cool and shit, and we're great, we're good to be dads and stuff like that. But, to be able to understand what it is like when you don't have it, to have a mother's love, and have that connection. And for me, it's like, what I respect so much about you, and I respect not only you as as a model, as an athlete, and I won't give up. One day I'm going to sign you to our company. I don't give a shit if it's the last thing I do, because I know you do this thing for sort of fun and whatever and stuff like that. But like, to me, the reason why I wanted to sign you, because I'm like, you represent not only as this sex symbol, but you represent to me what it's like to be a true ambassador of life, because you show so much structure as not just as a model, because again, on the outside stuff, I mean, yes, people can get caught up when they see, okay, there's Sue Lee, the model, the fitness chick that they see on Instagram. And then there's the one that I've gotten to know off of Instagram, who is, she is to anyone who doesn't know this woman, she's as authentic as they come. What you see is what you get. There's no faking, there's no, written script about her. This is what you get. This is the realness. And to me, when I see, the relationship that you have with your daughter, and be able to send such a positive, especially now where kids are so vulnerable and they're so influenced. Like for example, I hate the term influencer. Like, I legitimately can't stand it, because I'm like, they've come up with this term, social media influencer. But what are they actually really influencing?
Yeah.
Period. Because it's like, are they influencing big butts? Are they influencing stupidity? Are they influencing cyberbullying? Are they influencing? I mean, there's not a clear message I think to anybody, where I look at, certain followers that have like 28.5 million followers. And I'm like, for what? Like when you have, when these followers, like Jake Paul and shit, who have more followers than Obama, or more followers than, world leaders and scientists and people, number one, that are actually really contributing to society, it makes me sick. But when I see, for example, someone like you, who is, to me, even though you have the IFBB Pro, which to me, I think you should just ditch off your name, because you're more than that. Like, you are more than just a fitness competitor. You are somebody, number one, to me, who is representing for the single mom, who's representing for your culture, who's representing, in a sense, number one, for any person that's gone through any bit of a struggle. And most importantly, you are representing, in the sense, number one, for anybody who was told at a young age, like myself, all things that I've done, people never thought I would be doing, but I believed in myself the same way you believed in yourself, and you went out there and you made a name for yourself, and you did it on your own way. You didn't have where you see nowadays, which I call the manufactured influencer supermodel, where they come from a boyfriend or a husband that's got like money, and they're buying all of their social media outlet, where you took the route of actually putting in the work and really building the engagement with your audience as you've gone along over the years. You, to me, and I don't say this very often for women from Toronto, who have that personality like you do, who is real and who is authentic and who is truly a down-to-earth, normal chick who is not full of herself, who's not conceited, who's not walking around saying, hey, even though I'm this sex symbol, I'm better than everybody. Because you know what? You show the example as a mother to your daughter of what it's like to be a good human. Mm-hmm. Because literally, you take away, it's just like what I tell women all the time. You can date a man with money, because most women nowadays, they always are saying to men, I need a man who has this. I need a man who has that. I need a man who drives this car. He's a man who has that. And they, exactly what you said before, where, they box themselves into a situation. And then when the relationship goes sour and they haven't really done anything on their own record, they've allowed their life and their name and who they are as an individual to be established by a man in their relationship. And then when that relationship falls apart, they can't find themselves. They have no idea what to do with themselves. And where you got out of your bad relationship, and instead of being one of those women that, fall back into the same pattern again and be it back into another bad relationship and another bad relationship and another bad relationship, you chose to take a chance on yourself, and it paid off. So to me, with your daughter watching you, what advice would you give for if you could go back 20 years, what advice would you give to a young Suli, to the Suli yet now?
I would say happiness is a choice and is made by you. So most people base their happiness on somebody. Like, oh, I'm happy because I'm with him, or I'm happy because if I buy this house, I would be happy. If I get this job, I would be happy. Or, like if I get this title, I would be happy. And I think, so most of us tie happiness to something, an object, a person. And I believe that, if I could go back, I would tell myself to be happy, to do things that truly make me happy first, rather than pleasing people or depending my happiness on other people, right? Because I grew up being taught that like you have to give to be happy, right? So if I make my partner happy and he's happy, that means I'm happy. But meanwhile, like, am I really happy though? You know? So yeah, I think we have to be truly happy inside first. And that I didn't know when I was younger.
Okay, and my last few questions here. What would you say for someone that wants to get into the modeling industry now? Not just fitness, but just the modeling industry and the fitness industry. What advice would you give them?
I would say always be true to yourself, right? Whether in fitness or not. Like just if you decided you want to expose yourself to the world, to the public, and to truly have some sort of values that is sustainable, that is gonna last, you have to be real and you have to truly showcase what you're here for and really stick to it, because I find a lot of people they they try too many things, right? For example, if I open a restaurant and I say, oh, I'm selling bubble tea, right? And then next day I would try to sell pizza, and the next day I try to sell something else, pho or whatever, then people are not going to know who I am. They'll just be like, okay, that's one confusing store. There's nothing good about it because that person is not focused, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if someone wants to be in the model industry or in the fitness industry, yeah, so just know your purpose, be very professional about it, and stick to that. So whether it's not a good time or whether there's challenges that like want to veer you other way, just stick to your cause, stick to what you truly believe in, right? Because there's believe it or not, you mentioned about Flex Appeal. There were a TV network reached out to me about 3 years ago to try to redo the Flex Appeal show. And everything went through, so far so good. And then they have another investor, which is a European network, TV network, okay, that's based on subscription. So they say, okay, Sue, you're gonna record working on the beach in bikini or like fitness clothes, and then you record the same scene again, topless, for this European subscription network. Okay. And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, no, but you get $6,000 more, $6,000 more per episode because it's per subscription. Okay. Yeah, so I would get paid more, and I'm like, but that's not what I want. I want to do the fitness thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, you still do the fitness thing. You would still look fit, topless. And I'm like, but that's not what I want. And I turned it down because I truly believe that that's not what I want. That's not what I want to represent.
That's the thing. Like you, yeah, it's about sticking to your principles. And I mean,
yes.
So that sort of spins into my. We'll get back to that topic here, but it spins into my next question, is where, okay, you have the pressure in the industry, and I'm sure we've all heard, we've all seen, we've all known, the creep stories of certain creep photographers and people, number one, who are, a little bit too touchy-feely. What advice I know what the advice that I give to certain clients breaking into the business, but like, what advice would you give? And have you ever had an experience, dealing with, a situation where you were pressured into a situation? I always believe that, until you establish a good working relationship with a certain photographer, if it's going to be, a bikini or whatever, that you should never, no matter, I don't care whether you're just starting in the business, you're doing it for 20 years, that you should never, until you are in a position where you know that photographer isn't a creep or isn't, sleazy, to go into that, especially on your first photo shoot, by yourself, So have you ever had a situation where someone as a photographer has tried to pressure you into, either doing something against your will or making you feel uncomfortable? And what advice would you give for somebody young who wants to do their first photo shoot?
Okay, so you are right. Yeah, until you know the photographer, as in like maybe the second time or third time shooting with the photographer, that you know, okay, this person is a good person. You should always have someone accompanying you, especially if you are a woman or a young woman. Yeah, you should have your parents or spouse or accompany you, and that I've never experienced that I have to be. I'm actually was at the shoot and the photographer forced me to do something I don't want to. I've never been in that situation, thank goodness. I think because I always communicate with the photographer first. Like I go back and forth, we talk, and I also reach out to the models that he shot, right? Because every photographer should have their portfolio and or their works showcased on Instagram and would tag the model, right? So if I'm new to this photographer, I would reach out to the girls and say, hey girl, I'm gonna shoot with your photographer. Like, what do you think? Did you have a good experience? And usually the women would always share the experience, right? And from their experience, I would decide if I want to continue, if I'm comfortable to continue this collaboration or this work. But yeah, no, I've never experienced that. I did experience like over conversation that I feel like, okay, this guy is super creepy, and I'm like, okay, goodbye, no, right? Like you could kind of tell right away.
But this is the thing. So like this goes on to in what I know that especially nowadays where um, it's judged by social media trial, where in the industry, for example, I mean I know that some photographers or people who in the industry have gone through these similar things where, like where you said, you'll reach out to other models that photographer may have worked with, and a lot of times, I always say there's a flip side. There's three sides to every story. There's yours, mine, and there's the truth. And a lot of times you feel, for example, is like, and I know photographers, that I've heard, where they've worked with a model. And that model, like you, I know is a professional, but there are, as you know, models that aren't professionals. They are either, rude, drunk, sloppy, ignorant, whatever the case may be, don't show up on time, and they're not prepared for their shoot. And as you said, it's about going back and forth, having an actual plan before the shoot. Like I always tell people, you should always have first a concept, not just because, as you know, there's many photographers that are out there that are point and shoot, like and you notice it in the sense of where where I work with models on workshops, and I'm like, who have done, bikini, skin stuff all day. I put them in fucking clothes, and they're like a deer in headlights. Like they literally are like, and they don't even know how to pose properly, and it shows in their face because like when you're thinking about a shot as a model too much, and you're like, where do I put my hands? Where do I do this? You end up getting the worst shots humanly possible because your face is stiff, your jaw is stiff, you're thinking too much about
it shows,
the photo.
yeah.
And then where you have more action style photos where you're not thinking about it, those are usually sometimes the best shots. And I say that the only way that sometimes works is when you're working with a photographer that has an actual storyboard. Like you're presenting a storyboard to the photographer. And this is where, advice I always try to give to certain models who are breaking into the business for the very first time. If you are paying for a shoot, paying for your own photo shoot, understand one thing and one thing only. That's your property. You own those images. You own those photos. So the advice that I give is, one, when you go to that shoot, make sure you do not go to that shoot without a flash drive or some sort of, you know, transfer option to put your images the minute that shoot is done, because never fall for the excuse of where you get these photographers that say, you know, oh, I need to edit this. Bitch, give me my raws. Like, give me my raw photos, because there is no excuse for any photographer, if you paid for them, to hold on to your raws, because that's your property. But what happens is a lot of these girls, for example, that go into these shoots by themselves with no plan, no execution, no storyboard, no management, nothing. They walk into these shoots with no plan. And then the photographer starts to dictate, as before, like, I want you to go topless, or I want you to do this, or I want you to do that. And some girls, as you know, they don't want to come off like the bitch. So they say nothing. And then they eventually start taking these photos that they don't necessarily may have been comfortable with, but they do it anyway. And then all of a sudden now that photographer has their images, and then a week goes by and you're like, okay, can you send me my photos? And he's like, okay, I still got to edit. Another week goes by, you get my photos? Yeah, I still got to edit. Another week goes by, and before you know it, he may send you one, he may send you three, but the 3,000 photos that you shot, you've never seen the light of day again. You've never seen them, because he realizes, I never have to shoot with Sue Lee anymore. I've got her photos. I can use them for whatever I want. I can make money off them for the next, 5, 6, 7 years. And this is why I tell models, it's like, when you are starting off in the game, you have to, as you said, work with certain photographers. But to me, where I was going back to my point, was where you get certain models that are unprofessional, that may make a negative statement or a comment or whatever about that photographer, for you not to shoot with that photographer because of either one or two reasons. Out of jealousy, where they know that you're probably a better model and can shoot probably better photos and establish a relationship with that photographer and put out good work, where they now lost that opportunity to work with that photographer. Do you feel whether someone comes to you and says, okay, even though you've never worked with them, but you've had that person say, well, I had a bad experience with that photographer. Do you make your own decision based on your interaction with that person, or do you base it based on just somebody's other opinion?
First of all, I wouldn't just listen like, oh, it's a bad experience. Like, I would be like, oh, what happened? Right?
Sure.
And you can tell a lot from a story, and doesn't matter, even if I tell you my story from my point of view, if you're smart enough and you listen enough, you still see like, okay, there's something off there if I have something to hide, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, oh, okay, why is he mad at you? Oh, you were late? Oh, how come? Right? And then when things don't add up, but I would never ask just one person, right? I always ask different people, that models or people that I look at, and I'm like, okay, I look at their profile and I'm like, okay, she has an abundance of professional work with her, right? She looks like a professional model. Then I would ask her, then her work would be a little bit more worthy, right? And yeah, no, I would not just ask one person. If it's one bad review, then I'll be like, oh, how come? And then I'll ask someone else, right? And based on what they say, I can kind of like pull out my own conclusion about somebody, right? Because the photographer might not be bad or unprofessional. It just maybe he's stricter, right? So or maybe he has discipline, and maybe he has certain rule that like, oh, like if you're late, then he might be aggravated. And yeah, it's just not professional to be late, and a lot of professional photographer will find that annoying, right? And I totally get it. So yeah, I think it's just being a mom also helped, because I always ask questions, and I always like looking at it from like different angles, right? And I learned how to say no, because yeah, there are situations where I was in a like a workshop, and a certain photographer asked me to pose certain way, and I'm like, no, that's not how I pose. I don't want to do that. And there is nothing they can do about it. Even if it's a workshop that I got paid to do, to be there as a model, but I'm there as a model that my style, right? They pay me for me. So why am I putting my ass up on the lens to look like someone else? So no, you pay me, for my style, for my look. This is who I am. And that's how I say it.
Your advice is that you should always have a voice.
Yes, correct.
I truly believe that. I truly believe that people should be using their voice because it would help them not be in a lot of predicaments that they end up getting into in this industry, you know, and finding themselves in situations. That's why a lot of times, to me, when certain individuals put themselves in situations, I don't feel bad for them. Because I'm like, if you could have prevented this on your own by just either A, taking yourself out of the equation, or saying something and never being afraid, because to me it's like you should always, I mean, I try to, even with my work, like I speak to the models before and I'm like, look, anything that you are not wanting to do, tell me now. But you should also remember that being uncomfortable in certain situations isn't a bad thing, because it teaches you how to be uncomfortable and to be comfortable from being uncomfortable. Because it's like, for example, it's like, as I said, there's certain girls where you can put them in no clothes, underwear, bikini, lingerie, and they're completely like comfortable. But then you put them in clothes in a fashion shoot, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I'm like, you need to think in the sense, number one is like, you only get better by trying something. You know, if you force yourself, bottom line, it's like when you with your training, like a muscle. You train it enough, it gets stronger. What people nowadays, where it's like they have this, you know, they stop, they fall once, they're like, okay, I can't get myself back up again. I can't do this again. And so for you, it's like, you know, what would you know, being a Asian model in the industry, what advice would you give to other Asian models who look at you as a role model? What advice would you give to them if they want to follow in your footsteps to break into this industry?
I think being Asian or not in the model industry, at the end of the day, is not important. You just have to be very professional, and like you said, like yes, you have to push the box a little bit, right? Like, but if you feel very uncomfortable about it, if it's not something you represent, then you should have a voice and you should stand up for yourself. And I think for Asian female per se, a lot of photographers want us to get into that, like, import models or like certain like very stereotypical look, and nothing wrong with it. I'm just like, there's so many of that already, and there's, you know, I don't see myself
what made you not go down that route? Because it's true, there's so many of that. Yes. That's why I think you stood out to me, because I'm like, she's a beautiful Asian model, which I'm sure she's got me offers to do the import fest type of modeling. And I never saw you in that spectrum. I never even I knew that you could do it, but I never pictured you as that type of model. No. So what made you not go down?
I take pictures with cars before, but I don't promote the car. I promote myself and I promote art, right? So again, like, nothing wrong with being import models or advertising model for a certain thing like this. Mm-hmm. This thing, you know, like, but you just have to understand what you want to do, right? Like, if you want to help promote the cars, I want to promote ideas, creativity, and art, and that's what I like to stick to, right? So you can put me in front of the car and I would make sure that the spotlight's on me. not the car. And that's the difference, right? And I want it to be like that. And I'm not an object. I'm a masterpiece of art. That's what I want to portray.
Yes,
And yeah, and that's why I always communicate with the photographer and say, hey, let's make art. Let's make something awesome. Instead of just say, oh, let's make something for the likes, right? So
Well,
yeah,
I would say, I mean, modeling is an artistic form of expression.
Very artistic. Yeah, it's all about creativity. Yeah.
It has to tell a story. And as I said, like, you know, to me, there's, as I said, there's point and shoot photographers who are like, okay, lay here, spread your legs, put your ass here, bend over. And then you have real photographers. And I say, like, if you're shooting fashion, you have to find a fashion photographer, not someone that says, oh, I can shoot fashion, but their entire portfolio is fitness. Yeah. You know, and if you're shooting, have an idea, have a concept, have a story, have some sort of, you know, storyline that you can build an image that, you know, again, because it is about selling. It's about selling yourself, but if you're a brand, it's not about you. Yeah, exactly. It's about the product. It's about, you know, whatever in the sense of what you're trying to promote. So to me, I want
to address Jarlath's point. So I think you're missing the point here, Jarlath. He was asking what my advice as an Asian model, and based on my experience is that a lot of photographers came to me because I'm Asian and I have certain physique that they want to shoot import model style, like the go-go boots and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, that look has been done so many times already, and that's not what I want. I want more creativity and I want art. And like I said, nothing wrong with import models. It was just not what I like. I like something more artsy and something more creative, right? If I got paid to promote a car, that's different, right? But if I got paid for my creativity, then no, I will not promote the car. And that was my point, is that really know what you represent.
Guys, if you have some questions, we're going to wrap up here soon. If you guys have some questions, drop them in the comments right now. If you want to ask Suli a question, feel free to ask right now and drop it in the comment below.
Someone else also asked earlier on, interesting question is that why is ass more popular than boobs now, and if boobs are still relevant? And honestly, I believe in the proportional physique. Women can look any shape or form, right? As long as the man or the person find that beautiful, and there is no definition. There should not be no definition or like a set standard for being beautiful or being attractive, or oh, you have to have a big ass to be beautiful, or you have to have boobs to be beautiful. I've seen a lot of slender women that's very attractive as well. So yeah, I truly believe that a certain part of social media has brainwashed us to be this way, right? So back in the day, we're so into boobs because we love Pamela Anderson, right? Now we love Kim Kardashian, so we're like so into ass. And I think, again, social media has a lot of influence on people's opinion about attraction, right? But that doesn't define us all as human.
Do you feel social media is a is a bad tool or a good tool?
It's a knife with two heads, right? So it's how you use it, right? Some people could be so obsessed with it and compare themselves with everybody on social media, and that might be something negative, right? Because they keep feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, like why this person traveled the world and whatnot. Some people use it to spread their voice, spread their beliefs, spread help and information. Some people help others or help changing things. For example, like the Black Lives Movement, Indian farmers protests, like, you know, things like that sometimes it wasn't even heard or was not exposed on media, like on TV, if that's what the government decided they don't want to talk about, right? But thanks to social media, we know about these things. We are educated about the world. So I think that's just depend on how we use social media and to a limitation. And there are so many fine lines that sometimes I myself find like, oh my god, I've been on social media all day, and that's not good. But we get sucked into it sometimes. So yeah, you always have to remind ourselves that just be selective about what you see on social media. Not always things are real. Not everybody's life is perfect. We all have certain good part and bad part in our life. Just because someone has a fancy car doesn't mean that person is better than you or have a better life than you. Um, yeah, we'll always have something good and something not good, and we just have to choose to look at positive stuff in our lives, right?
What keeps for you, like what keeps you, because you have such a like an amazing energy and such a beautiful
Sorry.
soul. What keeps you, especially in these times, so positive?
I believe in the saying, count your blessing, right? I'm blessed. I have my daughter. She's healthy. My families are healthy. I am healthy. I wake up. I have a roof on my head, and there are a lot of people in other countries that don't have what we have. That we think that, oh, that's basic. So what? But people fight for that somewhere else in the world, and I came from a third world country, so I've have a little taste of that, so I understand, and I think it helped me grounded. And every time I feel like, oh, I'm chasing that rat race, then I kind of bring myself back and remind myself like, okay, this is what you have, and you're blessed, and you have hands and legs that work, and you can work hard, and you will get where you want to be.
No, very good point. So, guys, I want to thank the beautiful, gorgeous Sue Lee for joining us tonight. I will take about two more questions if you guys have it, and then we're going to wrap this up for the evening so she can get some well-deserved sleep. um, but before I let you go, I want to know what is your personal goals, and also who was your biggest inspiration that you know someone out there that inspires you?
My personal goal right now, this year, is continue to expand um, on my business. I actually wanted to open a gym before the pandemic, but I'm kind of happy that I did not. So right now, I'm just try to maintain being positive day by day. Um, so like, and just focus on my daughter. She's 7. She's young, and I would love to spend as much time as I could with her. And the person that inspired me the most is my mom. She is my best friend. And like, now that we grew up, and we certain time we like but at the end of the day, I am who I am now thanks to her. And I always tell people, like, when people are like, oh, you're such a good mom, I honestly, like, if I'm half as good as I'm half as good as my mom, then I'm a good mom, right? So yeah, no, she's just a wonderful person, and
Well, thank you,
I'm
Mom,
so
because you
happy
raised
she's my best
very,
friend.
I
Yeah,
want to thank your mom because she raised
thank
a very,
you.
very
That's so sweet.
vibrant, amazing daughter, and honestly,
Thank
your
you.
strength, your your class, your elegance, your grace. You, as I said, are somebody to me that represents everything that's good in a society that is so much bad right now. It is so refreshing, as I said, especially where you live, to find someone who has maintained through all her success. And, you know, and I think for you, you know, every time I watch you, I'm like, I don't really think she even realizes truly her potential, truly in the sense of, number one, of the impact that you not only make now, but to me, you know, that you could do in so many other avenues. I mean, there's so many things that I see in you where I'm like, if this girl was to put all of those ingredients into one basket, I mean, she already is a badass chick, because you are. But just, to me, you have the power, I think, to inspire, help, change lives. And I think that, you know, that is a definite, you know, true case of just the Asian community, of wanting to help, and a testament of your parents raising you. And, you know, I'm grateful that they created you, because you know what? The world would be really missing a really amazing person. So I'm really, really honored in the sense, number one, to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you back again, because there's some other really hot topic questions that I want to get into. This was more of a introduction of letting the people get to know you, but there's some other hard pressing topics that me and you have discussed and laughed about off camera that I want to bring into the conversation and really get your opinion and feedback on it. But for those, in the sense, number one, you know, that just tuning in right now, welcome to another edition of Hot Topics After Dark Radio TV on Hot Celebs TV. You can check out this full podcast if you missed it on YouTube. It will be uploaded there. You can also watch it on Facebook, which is, if you're on there, follow Hot Topics Radio TV. Also on YouTube, Hot Topics. You can click the link in the bio on this page, hit subscribe. There'll be a bunch of other interviews happening. For those tuning in, don't forget, upcoming next week and the week after, we've got some every Sunday night, 6 p.m., some of the hottest influential celebrities in Hollywood, from film, television, music, and the entertainment industry. And every Tuesday night, we go after dark, off the record, unscripted. Tonight, we had the beautiful Sue Lee, international fitness model. Sue, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. You've been an amazing guest, and I hope to have you back. Any final things you want to say? First, I want you to tell people where they can find you on all your social media platforms. Also, I want you to give a last message to anybody out there that's watching this. So where can they find you?
I'm very active on Instagram. This is my Instagram handle, Barbell Mommy DIFBB Pro. My fitness Instagram is Fit Balance Pro, where you can find all my clients' transformation and things like that. Sorry, I touched the screen. Yeah, otherwise you can DM me at this Instagram handle for any questions relating to motherhood, life, time management, and fitness. I would love to answer you. And my last message is that life is short. Don't waste your time on negativity, and just focus on all the positivity right now. Especially, it's really hard right now to maintain that mental health at this point. So really focus in that. You have to take care of yourself first. Be healthy and be happy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. And don't forget, if you like this podcast, if you like this interview, and you want to see more like this, make sure you can follow me on my Instagram at DTeflon. That's at DTeflon. You can also follow Hot Topics Celeb TV on Instagram. Leave your comments on this video, on this podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback of what you thought about this podcast. If there's another fitness model out there that you guys follow and you want to have me interview and bring onto the show, or any other celebrity that's out there, let me know and we could probably make it happen. So I want to thank you, Sue. I hope to have you back. You've been amazing. I love you. I want to send you nothing but great energy and great light, because you give so much of that to the world. And I'm going to say, in a sense, number one, to everyone out there, just be kind to each other. Let's try to find a way, in the sense, number one, that even though when it comes to social media, you know, we don't have to agree on everything, but there is never any reason to be negative towards somebody, disrespectful towards somebody. And I think you all should follow in Sue Lee's mantra and follow this amazing human being if you haven't followed her already. And as I said, Sue, I love you. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Hope to see you soon.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you guys later. Bye.